The Xbox One Scorpio is technically a superior machine when compared to the PS4 Pro. Microsoft's newest machine comes packed with 6 teraflops of GPU, a superior CPU, and improved memory, putting it head and shoulders above the Sony's PS4 Pro. Now, we already know that Sony's machine can't do native 4K for AAA games, but that's not stopping Microsoft's Albert Pinello from boasting Scorpio's technical prowess. There are just a lot of asterisks in Sony's, marketing around 4K, which is interesting because when we thought about what spec we wanted for Scorpio, we were very clear that we wanted developers to take their Xbox One engines and render them in native true 4K. That's why we picked the number. That's why we have the memory bandwidth we have. That's why we have the teraflops we have, because it's what we heard from game developers was required to achieve native 4K, he said in an interview with Eurogamer. Now, similarly to what Sony said, that doesn't mean I'm going to require developers to do this. They're going to be able to decide to take that 6 teraflops of power and do what they think is best for their game. But I know that 4.2 teraflops is not enough to do true 4K. So I feel like our product aspired a little bit higher, and we will have fewer asterisks around the 4K experiences we deliver on our box, he further added. It's basically a repeat of what we saw during the early years of the current gen console cycle. However, Microsoft and Sony have switched places, and it's the former who is riding on the hype of a more powerful console. This year marks the first year that we're not getting an Assassin's Creed game since 2008. Since 2009, we've had a mainline Assassin's Creed game release every year, but in the face of declining sales and 2014's Assassin's Creed Unity dropping the ball pretty heavily, it seems as though Ubisoft made the right decision to take a year off and work on retooling the franchise into something that could excite the mainstream public again, choosing instead to focus on games such as the upcoming Watch Dogs 2 for this holiday season. So far, we've been under the impression that the next game in the Assassin's Creed franchise, colloquially referred to as Empire, and presumed to be set in ancient Egypt based on leaks and well-sourced reports, will be launching in 2017. However, in an interview with GameSpot, Ubisoft CEO Jes Guillemot recently stated that a 2017 release wasn't necessarily a given. What we saw in the development of the next Assassin's Creed was that we had an opportunity to take it to another level, he said. So we said we'll take all the time it takes to make the experience fantastic. It was feasible because we have other games. There's huge potential in this game to revolutionize the IP, so we said, let's make sure we change our model so that we have more time and that we can bring back a greater experience. So when would the IP be back then, according to him? Surprisingly, he would not commit to a date at all, saying only, it'll be back when it's ready. That's when we feel we have something there. When prodded further with the specific 2017 release window, Guillemot only said, yeah, that isn't necessarily 2017, it will be when it's ready. So it sounds like for once, Ubisoft are willing to miss a release date and instead focus only on delivering the best product that they can. For the publisher that essentially rushed out an unfinished game with Assassin's Creed Unity simply to have a tentpole release for the 2014 holiday season, we'd say that makes for a pretty big change. Battlefield 1 is one of the most anticipated games to be releasing this year, and given the huge number of people who participated in the beta, it's bound to be a commercial success when it launches next month. The console versions of the game look pretty good, but the PC version, as expected, is going to be head and shoulders above the fixed platforms. But what kind of hardware will you need to max this game out? Fortunately, Electronic Arts have revealed the hardware requirements needed to play the game on your PC. You can check them out on the screen and let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Battlefield 1 launches on October 21st for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. Dave Cox, who was the producer of the fantastic Castlevania Lords of the Shadow, has finally revealed why he left Konami after the somewhat disappointing sequel. The reasoning isn't complicated, to be honest. He left because Konami had no vision back then, something that also applies in this age given how they fired Hideo Kojima. Konami decided, let's just say it wanted to go in a different direction in terms of development. It's one of the reasons why the studio I was heading up closed down. They wanted to move more into mobile. They wanted to do more development in Japan. At that time, it was simpler to make a clean break, for me personally and for the studio. I don't think Konami knew at the time what they wanted to do or where they wanted to go. They still obviously had Metal Gear in development. They still had PES in development, but there wasn't a vision at the top of the company about where they wanted to go or what they wanted to do, Cox stated in an interview with Eurogamer. We honestly don't find that surprising at all. Konami is a mere shell of its former self. It's borderline impossible to believe that the publisher of massive IPs like Contra, Metal Gear, Castlevania, Suikoden, Silent Hill, and many more will lose its way only in a matter of years. What's more disappointing is that Mercury's team were actually working on the concept of a new Contra game, but unfortunately, that idea was scrapped. We talked to Mercury's team about that, and we did have early discussions about Contra, but it just wasn't to be. The planets weren't aligned, essentially. That was essentially it. but also the guys at Mercury's team didn't want to move on with that relationship as well. So it was mutually agreed that we wouldn't move forward with it. We had discussions about it absolutely, and there were concepts and a basic idea was drawn up, but that's as far as it got, sadly, he revealed. Absolutely none of this surprises us. I guess we'll wait for the moment when Konami will genuinely surprise its fans with the revival of all of its AAA game franchises, but given the company's commitment to mobile games, pachinko, and not to mention putting next to no effort in Metal Gear Survive, it seems like a distant dream. Hidetaka Miyazaki has confirmed that From Software are working on a number of games. One of them is a game that will have a dark fantasy tone to it, the other is a new Armored Core title, which was confirmed recently, and the third one is a weird game that will surprise a lot of players. So there are several titles that we're currently working on. Some of those are dark fantasy, some of those could be a mech game, that's one thing. The second thing is that one of the new titles I've been working on will probably comply with the expectations from the fans in a straightforward manner. He said to IGN, "Yeah, we're already working on Armored Core." The last thing is that another title will probably be a little weird. When we actually announce the title, probably fans will react with, "Oh, what the hell is this very weird game that Miyazaki has created?" It will be interesting to see what the dark fantasy game is. We'll update you whenever these new games get announced.
We hope you've enjoyed this video, so please consider subscribing to our channel. We do original content, reviews, graphics comparison, and much more, and try to upload a video every day. Thank you very much for checking us out.